It is very hard to believe what Newcastle United want you to believe in regards to Alexander Isak. He has not travelled with the rest of the squad out to Singapore for their pre-season tour, stating that he's got a minor thigh injury. Now, he's had a scan on that thigh already and it's come back clear. Now, of course, he could have something small, something that's bothering him, but not significant enough to flag up on that scan. But I find it very difficult to believe that if Isak really wanted to be on that tour, there's no reason why he couldn't be, especially when these tours are so commercially driven. Ideally, Newcastle United would have their star man out there with them. So why has he not gone? Well, there's three reasons, really. One, the injury report is actually true, and that's the reason. There's nothing more to it. But I find that difficult, especially when you consider the fact that he's been training on his own this week. There's been a lot of reports around a new contract. He was left out of the squad that faced Celtic at the weekend. I find it difficult to believe this reason for him not going. You got the second reason, which is he wants a new contract at Newcastle United. Reports this week said that he wants up to 300 grand a week. Or the third reason, maybe he wants out. Maybe his head has been turned with all the speculation over the last week or two, and as a result of that, he now sees his future lying away from St James's Park. Obviously, number one's okay for Newcastle. Number two's not ideal, but there could be a resolution. Number three, it's not great. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for joining me. Please do subscribe. About 55-60% of you watching this video are not subscribed to Tartan, so please do click that subscribe button and stick around and join me for my journey. Trying to get 5,000 subscribers before the Premier League season kicks off, and also do drop a like on the video by clicking the thumbs up button. Massive thank you. Those likes help out the video and help out the channel a lot. Thank you for all the support. Isak, I've done a full 180 on this. When Liverpool first went in for him a couple of weeks ago, and they basically said, we want to sign him. However, if you don't want to sell him, we're not going to bid. We're just going to move for Hugo Ekitike. And I thought they were bluffing. I thought there was an element of bluff going on here by Liverpool, which was, you know, you don't sell us Isak, we're going to go after the guy you're trying to sign. I see what you're doing here. You're putting a bit of pressure on Newcastle. And then when they went for Ekitike, it meant that Newcastle were holding on to Isak. I thought, well, this is a victory for Newcastle. They're holding on to the player they don't want to sell. They want to keep Isak. They're keeping him. This is good news. Well, it appears that perhaps maybe Isak wants to leave anyway. And this is the first time today, this is the first time I've really thought that Isak maybe does see his future away from Newcastle United. And that would be disappointing for Newcastle fans, because my opinion on the player isn't going to change. He's world class. But I do wonder now if Newcastle maybe got this one wrong in regards to the negotiations, because they were, after Ekitike, they didn't agree a deal with Frankfurt. Their €75 million bid was rejected, but we now know what it would take. 69 million plus 10 million of add-ons. Newcastle were bidding the 69 million. It was just that 10 million of add-ons is what is different between Newcastle and Liverpool's bids for Ekitike. Now, if they held on to Isak, that's okay. But if Isak goes anyway, you do think maybe Newcastle should have said to Liverpool, we're willing to negotiate in order to prevent Liverpool going in for Ekitike. Now, I'm aware the striker only wanted Liverpool. But he only wanted Liverpool once Liverpool started bidding, because once they got involved, that's when Ekitike made it clear, when I go to Anfield, Newcastle backed off. But had Newcastle been willing to negotiate with Liverpool in the first place, it may, or I think likely, would have prevented Liverpool approaching Frankfurt and Ekitike in the first place. And actually, Ekitike's only option then would have been to go to St James's Park, which I think he would have been okay with that, by the way. He's always spoken very highly of Newcastle. He's always said that he was close to going. It was just that PSG came in for him, and that's why he went there instead. So I think he would have went to Newcastle had Liverpool not come to the table. But they only did that as a result of Newcastle's stance over Isak. And now, even though they missed out on Ekitike, there's a chance that Isak's potentially going to want to leave anyway. And they're going to end up going for Wissa, which we'll get on to in just a second. This is a transfer story that's not finished yet, and it's just taking a dramatic twist with Isak not going on that tour to Singapore, because I can't shake the feeling that if he really wanted to go, he could have done. difficult situation. Things aren't going too well for Newcastle. I've been disappointed with them in the window, and I appreciate there's still 5 and a bit weeks left of the transfer window, but I thought Newcastle would have done more business by now. I think they should have done more business by now. Missed out on Mbomo to Man United, missed out on Ekitike to Liverpool. They've got Alanga, great signing, but they still need a striker. They still need a centre-back. They're still trying to get James Trafford, but now Manchester City have been linked to him as well. They need to get their act together, I think, Newcastle do. In regards to Wissa, apparently they've had a £25 million bid rejected. Brentford, they say 50, but you'd imagine it's 30-something million would maybe be enough to get this deal done. 1 year left on his contract, but Brentford do have it on an option for a further 12 months. It's essentially a 2-year contract. Turns 29 at the start of the season. I've seen a lot of pushback from Newcastle fans in regards to this deal. I understand why. Spending 30, can we just say 35 million hypothetically is what it would take to get him out of Brentford. I don't think we'd be far off. 35, 40, somewhere in there. I understand why there would be a reluctance to feel it's a good signing to get a 29-year-old for 35 million, because essentially it's a Callum Wilson situation. He's there till the end of his contract and he's going to go for free at the end of it, or for a very small fee. Now, that's not a reflection of Wissa as a football player. That's just a reflection of Wissa, who turns 29 when the season kicks off. And especially after being linked to Ekitike, a much younger striker who has the potential to go on and potentially be one of the best strikers in European football, to go from that to Wissa, the player profile side of things feels like a drop-off. Now, Wissa's a fantastic striker, a fantastic Premier League striker, and I've got no doubt that if he went to St James's Park for the next couple of seasons, he would be a success. He would get goals. Got no doubt about it at all. But Newcastle have found themselves in a situation where, due to PSR, they've been very restricted in the transfer window. And when you're going to sign players, if you sign players like Wissa for 35, 40 million, with little to no resale value after a few seasons, you're not really going to break that cycle. You're still going to find yourself restricted, especially when compared to other clubs. They need to just be smart. And I think Wissa would be a good signing for them. I do think that. But I can understand why Newcastle fans are pushing back on this one a little bit. Not all of them are. I would say it's 50-50 from the vibe I'm getting. 50% aren't too keen. 50% are looking at him as a player. And I think everyone's in agreement, most of them, which is that he's a good player. No one's disputing that. It's, I guess, the financials involved in the transfer market up ahead for Newcastle. And I think it's because of the potential disappointment of missing out on some of their other transfer targets. The possibility of losing Isak, I think, can sometimes dent your enthusiasm over an incoming transfer because of that disappointment elsewhere. It's a difficult one. I think Newcastle are struggling a little bit in this window. I do feel like that. And as I've said previously, I understand why they are reluctant to pay what they call Saudi tax. I completely get it. But they're going to have to at some point. And as I keep saying, it's not just them that overpay. They're not the only club that overpay to get players. All they have to do is look at Man United with Mbomo. They've paid more than they wanted because they had to get him out of Brentford. So it's not Saudi tax. I think it's Premier League tax. Premier League clubs are, in comparison to other clubs in European football, they're filthy rich. They've got a lot of money. Hence why they'll take advantage of it. Other clubs will take advantage of it. Newcastle need to get some business done. I'm sure they will, by the way. I'm quite confident they'll still bring in 3 or 4 players between now and the end of the window. But they've already missed out on a couple of their number one targets, Ekitike and Mbomo. You'll get away with that if they bring in their first choice centre-back, whether that's Gay or Scalvini, or whether but if you go get James Trafford, your number one goalkeeper target, that's okay collectively. But if you miss out on Trafford and then you're picking up your third choice centre-back as well, that's when overall the window perhaps isn't as good as it not just could have been, should have been. Good news for anyone wanting James McAtees, though, the Manchester City attacking midfielder. He does not wish to move abroad. He wants to stay within the Premier League. He's been linked to like some Nottingham Forest, my team, West Ham. Looks like he's going to be staying in the Premier League. Man City still want to sell him. I'm quite confident he'll go somewhere. It's just a case of where is he going to go. But he wants to stay in the Premier League, and I think that's good. That's the signal for Premier League clubs. Come get me. I want to stay in this division. Douglas Luiz also been linked to, well, mainly Everton, also West Ham, Aston Villa. He hasn't turned up for training today. So the Juventus midfielder is going to be disciplined, but he's also expected to leave this summer. And I think this is only just going to fast track that and make the departure even more likely. So whatever Premier League club has got their eye on Douglas Luiz, they've just been given a bit of a helping hand by the player because he has not turned up for training. Speaking of Newcastle strikers, or former Newcastle strikers, my team, West Ham, are set to sign Callum Wilson. I am not happy about it. I am not happy about it at all. When I watched him last season for Newcastle, I thought he was completely off the pace. He looked like his legs were gone. This is where players in their 30s, some of them can still have plenty to offer. Granit Xhaka, 32, still got loads to offer, still doing it for Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, playing European football, is still a fantastic central midfielder at that level. He's fine. Callum Wilson, just a year older, not fine. I think his legs have gone. I cannot get on board with this signing at all. I'm not happy about it at all. And it's disappointing. I keep West Ham out of this as much as I can, these Premier League transfer shows. But I also don't want to ignore it completely when it's one of the bigger stories this is. And Leeds United, good news. They look like they're finally going to get their new number one. They need a goalkeeper. They need a goalkeeper this summer. It's not been great. It's not been a great position for them. Even last season in the Championship when they won it, I think they could have won it a bit easier had they had a better goalkeeper in goal. Lucas Perry of Lyon, they've agreed a deal with Lyon to get him into Elland Road. I can't tell you anything about him as a goalkeeper, so I'm not going to share an opinion. The one thing I will say though is Chelsea with Xavi Simons. I'm such a big Simons fan. For those that don't know, I watch the Premier League, a lot of the Premier League. I watch a decent amount of Championship, a decent amount of Bundesliga, and a bit of the Scottish Premiership. That's about it. Now and again, like last season, I watched a lot of Napoli because of Gilmour and McTominay. I watched a bit of Bologna because of Lewis Ferguson. But I don't watch Spanish football. I don't watch French football. I just don't have the time. I don't have time. So if you're looking for my opinion on Lyon's goalkeeper, I'm afraid I don't have one. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. It all goes well. I've got a different video tomorrow. Nothing to do with transfers. Nothing to do with transfer rumours. A bit of fun. And I'm hoping it gets taken that way. But thank you very much for joining me. Before you disappear, please do drop a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to Tartan, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.